This video is going to focus on slope-intercept form and how to identify it, put equations in slope-intercept form, and then graph with the slope-intercept form. So first, what is it? So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And we learned that m is the symbol for slope. And now we're adding this b, which is the y-intercept. So if ever I have an equation that's in this form, I can easily identify the slope of that line and where that line crosses the y-intercept because of these two numbers. So if I'm looking at these five, the first one, y equals 1/3 x plus 4. Well, this 1/3 is your slope. This positive 4 is your y-intercept. Negative 3/5 is your slope. Negative 2 is your y-intercept. 4 is your slope. 1 is your y-intercept. Negative 3/2 is your slope. Positive 3 is your y-intercept. For 5, what number is in front of that x? A 1. So your slope is 1. Your y-intercept is 4. Again, throwing in another example, what if you had something like this? Well, 4 is your slope, but there is nothing here. So we put 0 is your y-intercept, because that would be like plus 0. Okay, so it's that easy. The number in front of the x, that coefficient of the x, is your slope. The number you add or subtract to that x is going to give you your y-intercept, whether it's positive or negative. So what if they're not that easy? So what if I have the equation 3, let me change my color here for you. So what if I have something that is not in slope-intercept form? So in other words, y is not by itself. The answer is, well, let's get it in slope-intercept form. So let's get y by itself. So we utilize the same properties as we would solve a one-variable equation. We just want to end up with y equals and then everything else on the right-hand side. So I'm going to start by getting rid of that x term. So 3x minus 3x would get rid of that and move it to the other side. That's going to leave me with negative y equals. Now I have 4 minus 3x. I can't do that. They're not like terms. So I'm going to put this first, so negative 3x. Then I'm going to put this positive 4 second. And I'm only doing that to keep it in order of that slope-intercept form. All right, now I'm not done because I have a negative y. So I want to divide by that negative 1. Now notice I'm going to divide this whole other side by negative 1. Okay, so I can't just divide one thing on that right side. It has to be everything on that right side. So I finally get my y by itself. But now how do I do this right side? Well, I call this, and you won't find it in any textbook, but I call this the heart method, because that's what you'll end up with looking at the end. So the first thing you have to do is that. So negative 3 divided by negative 1 gives you a positive 3, and then I attach the x with it. But then you have to do the second part of the heart, which is right there, and that's where you get the heart. So then I have 4 divided by negative 1, which would give you a negative 4. Right? So now that you have y by itself, your slope is 3, your y-intercept is negative 4. Okay. All right, let's look at a couple other examples. All right, so next we got negative 2x plus 2y equals 6. So let's add the 2x to move that x term first. And again, I'm going to put the positive 2x first, then the plus 6. Divide by the 2, divide the whole other side by 2. Okay, so we're back to where we need to do the heart method. So 2 divided by 2 is 1x. 6 divided by 2 is a positive 3. So again, I could write this just like that, but my slope is still 1. My y-intercept is 3. Okay, so we're using a lot of the skills that we learned in earlier chapters. Okay, and the last one is a little different because I have the y on the right side. Okay, but I want to get y by itself, so it doesn't matter if I get y by itself on the right or the left, I just want to get it by itself. So what I would do here is just add the 7 and get x plus 7 equals y, because y is still by itself. So I could flip this and write it in that form if we like to look at it in the traditional form. But then I can clearly identify that my slope is 1 and my y-intercept is 7. All right, go ahead and pause and try these 3. I want you to just identify the slope and identify the y-intercept, and you can't do that unless it's in slope-intercept form. So go ahead and try them. Give yourself plenty of time, and then hit play to hear the solutions. All right, so the first one, all I would have to do is subtract the 1/3 x, and then I get my y by itself, because it's just a positive y. And again, I'll write my x term first and write the number second. So for the first one, your slope is negative 1/3. Your y-intercept is a positive 4. Okay, the second one is already in slope-intercept form, so you could have just identified slope is 2/3 because that's what the number's in front of the x, and your y-intercept is negative 5.5. Okay, the last one, you don't necessarily have to solve it the way I do, but I want to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract the 12. So I'm just going to start pulling everything away from the y side, which happens to be the right. So I have x minus 12 equals negative 2y. Divide by the negative 2. Right, so I'm going to have to use that hard method. So when I do x divided by negative 2, well, there's a 1 there. So 1 divided by a negative 2 is negative 1/2 x. And then the second part of that, now make sure you take the subtraction sign with the 12. So it's a negative 12 divided by a negative 2, which would give you a positive 6. So if you ended up with a different sign there, you might have forgot that subtraction of 12 is a negative 12. And that equals y. So your slope should have been negative 1/2, and your y-intercept would be a positive 6. Now coming back over here to the slope, if you wrote negative x over 2 plus 6, that's fine as long as you understand that there's a 1 there and that your slope is going to be the negative 1/2, not x over 2. Okay? All right, very good. Okay, so next let's look at, if I know this information about the equation, how can I graph it on an xy axis? So let's start with one that's already in slope-intercept form. So I know that my slope is 3/5 and my y-intercept is negative 2. So what we're going to do is start with the y-intercept. I know that a y-intercept of negative 2 crosses at negative 2 on the y-axis, and that would be right here. Okay, so that negative 2, that b equals negative 2 is right there. Now I also know that slope is direction, so it tells me how do I get from one point to another point. So if I have a slope of 3/5, the 3 tells me to go up 3 because it's positive. So from that y-axis, you're going to go up 3, which is 1, 2, 3. but then I have to go to the right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there I go. So the y-intercept is my starting point. So this is where I start. The slope is the directions I take from that starting point. So I'm going to start right here on the map, then I'm going to go up 3 to the right 5, and then that would make my line. Okay, let's look at another. So I want to start at my y-intercept, which in this case is -3. That's my starting point. A slope of -3 tells me -3 over 1. So that means I go down 3. Sorry. I go down 3 to the right 1. So from that starting point, go down 3, 1, 2, 3, to the right 1. So it should be that direction. So the negative is just one direction. They're not both negatives, just one of them. And then that would be my line. Sorry, I'm off. Okay, and if we go back to kind of what we know about slope in general, so I'm going back to the last example. This slope is positive, so your line should be going up. If it's not, you didn't do something right. In the second example, your slope is negative, so it should be going down, and ours is. If it wasn't, you would be doing something, you did something wrong. So don't write this down, but let's say you did down 3, but then you went here. Well, that now gives you a line that goes up. I should know that that cannot be possible solely because my slope is a negative. So it has to be in the other direction. All right, so keep that in mind. Don't lose some of those basic concepts that we've covered about slope. All right, go ahead and pause and try this one. So it's already in slope-intercept form, so exactly what we're doing. Go ahead and pause it, try it, and then I'll go over it. All right, so we'll start at -4. 1, 2, 3, 4 here. A slope of 4/3 tells me to go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right 3. So your line should look like this, and I can repeat it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, just to give you a better idea if you wanted to. And again, my slope is positive, so it should be going up, and it is. Okay, so the next example is, well, what happens if it's not in slope-intercept form? Well, we're going to go back to those last slides where we had to put it in slope-intercept form, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to take this equation, put it in slope-intercept form, and then graph it. So I'm going to subtract x, and the more you practice these, the better you'll get at them. Okay, so I have -x, so my -x and a -15. I'm going to divide by the 3. Okay, so use the heart method. So -x or -1, that'd be -1 over 3x, and then I get a -5. Okay, -15 divided by 3 is a -5. So to graph that, I start at the y-intercept, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -5. A slope of -1/3 tells me to go down 1 to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, down 1 to the right 3, just to make it a little easier for me to try to, there you go. Okay, and again, my slope ended up to be a -1/3, so my line should be going down, and it is. Okay, all right, the next one. Again, remove the x term to the other side. Put your x term first, and then the -2 second. Divide by the coefficient. Now try not to lose these negatives. So let's do the first half of the heart. -5 divided by -2, that can't go into it evenly, so I'm just going to leave it as 5/2. And why did I change it to positive? Because a negative divided by a negative is positive. Do the second half of the heart, which would give you a +1. All right, so your y-intercept is your starting point. That's positive 1 right there. 5 over 2 is up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To the right 2, 1, 2. Okay, so your line would look like that. Okay, and it is positive, so it should be going up, and it is. Okay, all right, let's look at this one. Subtract the x. Negative 2y equals negative x. You could put the plus 0 or you could not. I'll put it just for now. I would choose not to if I was doing this on my own. Divide by the negative 2. So you get, let's see, a negative divided by a negative is positive. So that'd be 1 over 2x. And 0 divided by anything is 0. So I could put nothing or put plus 0. Okay, but remember that if we don't have anything here, it is plus 0. So this is your y-intercept. And then I would go up 1 to the right 2. Up 1 to the right 2. And your line would look like that. Okay, so if you see something that looks like this, yes, this is my slope. Your y-intercept is this plus 0 that we don't have to write. Oh, you were supposed to pause and try that one. That's okay. Do this one. Go ahead and pause and try this one, since I did the last one for you. And then play it and go over. We'll go over the example. Alright, so you should have subtracted 3x first. Got negative 4y equals negative 3x minus 16. Then divide by the negative 4. End up with a positive 3/4 x, again, because negative divided by negative is positive. Second half of the heart, you're going to end up with a positive as well. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So then your starting point would have been this 4, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 right up there. Slope is 3/4, so that's up 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. So your line should have been up there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, I'm just giving myself, there you go. Okay. That's it. Okay, so again, like I said, the more you practice these, the better you'll get at them. Putting something in slope-intercept form is a very easy way to graph. So just keep practicing.